There we go. Got it working. How you doing? I'm Dave Valente. Thank you for watching the Political Deep Dive. This week we were supposed to have Mark Rutherford on, but I don't know that he'll be showing up tonight because we didn't really hear from him. So sorry about that, but we have plenty to talk about this week. And we like Mark. Mark's a good dude. He wouldn't have stood us up intentionally. I think it's just a miscommunication. Very nice, Dan. I like that. But let's introduce our co-host this week. AJ, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Yeah. Good stuff. And then Dan and Fishman.
Fantastic.
Oh, see, I'm not as excited about Fandamtastic as I am about Fandantastic because I am a fan of Dan.
I'm sure you are.
I do not like green eggs and Dan. I do not like them, Dan. I am. I do not like them with a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them with a fox. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. Sorry, I'll stop.
And AJ.
What's up, Josh?
Happy
What's up, Greg?
Mother's
What's up,
Day.
James?
Aw.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yes, a happy Mother's Day to all the ladies out there that whether you are kid parents or pet parents, I don't care. Happy Mother's Day. I hope you had a great day with your loved ones and getting celebrated. Babies, mamas.
Yeah, you know what?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Anybody who's shared in that really special relationship of being a caregiver, of loving somebody that needs your help and needs your love, needs to be taken care of, you know what? You're a mom.
That's right.
You're a dad. You're whatever is the role of parent, and it's not biological, but it can be. It's about that unconditional love, and that is what makes it happen.
Yes, sir. So, AJ, you've got some good news this week, and while we get that going, let me share a little bit about your GoFundMe. So, if you look up at the top, right here. Oh, wrong hand. There we go. If you look up right here, take out your phone and scan it, and it'll take you to a website for GoFundMe. AJ, talk about your good news this week.
Well, after paying people to reject me for weeks on end, which has been super great for my mental health, we were approved for a place. We've actually got a place to go. We've got a destination. So, yay. We are really excited. It's a good school district. It's the school district is 8 out of 10 in the country. And considering that my youngest just made a 30 on his practice ACT, I think that I'm going to have to make sure that it's a good school district. Like, that's the first. It's pet friendly. It's got public transportation. It's big. Like, we're going to have like room. So awesome. I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited. So thank you, everybody that has donated. Super thank you to everybody that shared. Thank you guys for sharing it. I'm very grateful. I can use just a little bit more help. it's just a lot to move across the country. And there's expenses involved that I didn't really anticipate because Colorado is just different than Tennessee.
Sure.
Some good news: my nursing license will just transfer, so I don't have to do anything crazy for that.
Yay for reciprocity.
Yeah, well, compact license actually means something, which was nice to find out, honestly. And the Colorado officers, they're so nice. You call and they act like they appreciate the fact that you're a nurse. Tennessee, you call and they're so pissed that you're bothering them about anything. So yay. But anyway, no, it's taken me a couple days to like process it, but I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
So that's my
and if
news.
anybody
Happy Mother's
deserves it, it
Day.
is absolutely you. So we
Well,
are so happy to hear that, and getting the place, and now it has to feel a lot more real now, doesn't it? Like you've got the
oh yes,
place.
we've got the place. Yes. Feeling like there actually is a destination because that means I can also contact the school. I can also go ahead and start looking at that specific neighborhood. Um, we can find primary cares and vets and an eye doctor and the normal everyday things. I can go ahead and focus in on one place. And gosh, it's such a relief. It's such a relief.
That's,
It's just been a little scary.
I can imagine. So, is there like a timetable now? Are we T minus 2 months,
It has
3 months,
no, we
That's
are a month.
T minus 30
um,
days?
yeah, so
yeah,
June
literally
the
30 days,
12th
right?
is the plan. And yeah, now that there's a place to count down, my gosh. Like I was out to eat with my dad earlier today, and I understand that it's Mother's Day. I saw her too. Don't be judging. But we were out, and I was like, I'm so looking for because it's a very small town. I'm so looking forward to not knowing anybody, to being anonymous. Like not knowing us all because we
Yeah,
ran into like 25 people. It was
right.
just like, okay. So I'm there's so much about Tennessee that I'm looking forward to missing. Does that make sense? I'm really
Absolutely.
looking forward to the
Yeah.
next chapter because I only spent 5 days in Colorado.
Leaving
I mean,
behind that weak ass barbecue, and
I don't eat
get
meat, but you can enjoy whatever you want.
there is outstanding Mexican food, of
oh
which
my
there's
God,
plenty
yes.
of vegan variety in
Yeah.
Denver.
I do have so many more options there. I mean, it is crazy. My asthma's better there. My allergies are better there. Um, I just it's
And
I feel better there.
Denver's a
So
far more friendly environment,
check your text, Dan.
Yeah,
um, because the environment in Denver, especially for vegans, is far more friendly than it is anywhere in the South. Um,
There's a lot
so
of that it's more friendly than this. Like I didn't have
sure.
billboards screaming at me. Like this is a big thing, y'all. You go down the interstate in Tennessee and it's God, guns, and babies.
well,
God, guns, and fetuses. Excuse me. But like there's no billboards. Like it's just
I
it's pretty
I tell you what,
mountain
you're
or it's
not
cool
prepared for.
architecture or whatever. What's
You
that?
are not prepared for. At least I don't think you are
What's that?
living in a purple state, because you are going to
Probably not.
see so many presidential ads.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a very good chance that at least one presidential candidate will visit you personally.
Me
Um,
personally.
Colorado's purple, man. Nobody knows which way it's going to go. There's going to be a
I mean,
tremendous amount of money put there.
Oh, that
I
makes
think
me so happy.
yeah. Well, I think Colorado's going to. Well, Biden has
It's
just
close.
been such a weak candidate. That's the sad thing is Biden is just a weak candidate,
Yeah.
and he's allowing some of these states that he carried in 2020 to slide back. And I don't think Colorado follows to Trump.
I mean,
I
it's
think
close.
the cities will carry it for Biden. It's just that Yeah. Honestly, I think we've talked about this before. Where I think the best case scenario is that there's a broker convention for the Democrats, and they come up with a new candidate, someone that has a pulse.
A pulse and somebody who is able to eat solid food.
The neurons are firing on all cylinders, at least most of the cylinders. They haven't been eaten away by
We'll
a
go
brain
ahead
worm.
and say,
Oh,
if a presidential candidate will actually come visit me personally.
Mark, we see your thing. I will follow up with you right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to come on tonight, that's
what
great. If
email
not,
what
Hi,
email
Mark
address did you send
Rutherford.
the information to, David?
you sent it to me. It was a Gmail address. I'll just put it.
Yep.
I'm not going to yell it out like that.
Just say the beginning of it. Well, yeah, send it to me in a private chat. I'll send it to Mark via text.
All right.
Where we sent it. We sent it to an email address that Jeff gave me. But if that's not it,
throwing Jeff under the bus.
That's what you did
we'll
today,
fix it.
Paige.
Yep.
I mean,
Hold on a second. I got to
that's
find.
preparedness.
Yep. Well, Mark, I'm really glad that you're here because we have a huge audience tonight too. So a big deal. Jeff Paul must be Jeff Lyons.
Yes.
And
Well, you just
you know what?
gave away his alias. What are you doing?
So you know what's really funny about that, AJ, is that when my phone pinged, Jeff Lyons is like in the group of 10 people on the planet that actually makes my my phone make noise. Okay.
I wasn't sure what this was going to be, Dan. I was really honest. You hesitated. I was like, what does he do to you, Dan?
There are, this is one of the things.
No king
Once you get into a position where libertarians think that they should have access to you,
I remember libertarians having access to me. Not a fan.
That address is at Gmail, right?
Yes.
See the hesitation, the timing on.
So send it again to that address, please, Dave.
All right, I'll just send the raw link.
Yeah.
And it's coming from David T. Valente.
Yep.
Just in case you're wondering.
What's the T for?
Terribly
T
odd.
is for trouble.
No, my middle name is Todd, and
Tiberius.
my sister would say it actually was terribly odd. Yeah.
Terribly odd. Y'all are my favorite siblings. You really are. You and Kara are just so much fun.
And you know what? Dude, send
What?
it to his, I was going to say to Valente to send it to his Facebook account too. So I'm going to fill and start talking about a major social event.
Ooh.
Did any of you watch the roast of Tom Brady?
I did not. I've heard enough about it. I think Ela had the best one, even though he wasn't there.
Well, the best one was Nikki Glazer, who she is the queen of mean. She is fantastic at roasts. But she said she's roasting Tom Brady. She's like, also, Tom Brady, how did you lose $30 million in cryptocurrency? Even Gronk was like, me know that not real money. Which I thought was really good. It's also interesting. Tom Brady had an interesting comment about it afterwards because people were like, how could you possibly have done this? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, look, guys, I spent, they paid me $25 million and a bunch of comedians spent half the time roasting me about my wife cheating on me, which as far as I'm concerned is great revenge. So
I mean,
I thought it was pretty
wrong.
interesting.
I have a little bit more respect for him now. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's all right. I like that.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Okay. Mark says he doesn't have access to Facebook.
No, I got him.
You got him? You got the email response?
There he is.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Hey, sorry about all that.
No worries.
No
worries.
It's we didn't confirm with you, and so I'm going to blame it all on Dave's sister, Cara, who's not here.
No. Blame it on me. Blame it all on my roots.
All right. Well, let's. I'm going to start off with my quick introduction, and then anybody else who wants to go on. So people know me; they know I've been around the party for a while. I'm always aware of the fact that there is a hierarchy in terms of the people who have actually done things. We have a lot of enthusiastic people in the party who are great volunteers, and they're great at getting out there and gathering signatures. They're enthusiastic supporters of the party, but they haven't done things of prominence, things of significance. Mark came to my attention. Actually, the very first time I met Mark was at the 2014 convention in Columbus. And needless to say, the Indiana delegation was packed anyway, because Ohio to Columbus is, or Indiana to Columbus is, I don't know, 4-hour drive, 6-hour drive, depending on where you're coming from. But, it was introduced, and Mark was introduced to me, and people explained, this is a guy with a real resume. We could talk a little bit about, the associations that you belong to and your legal career and stuff like that. But it became very clear in the conversations that Mark had actually done things. He began tasks and he finished them. Indiana has always been, in my opinion, the bellwether for what a state Libertarian Party can look like. Done so much. When I was the field manager for the Johnson Weld campaign, at one point in time, Indiana was in my bailiwick of states. It was Maine, because this is how well organized the campaign was. My states were Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Indiana. I don't know why, but it became very clear on talking to the Indiana people, they were already organized. They were so far ahead of where the national campaign was with all their money. And I'm like, how did that happen? And the people I work with is like, oh, Mark's always like that. So that's my introduction, Mark.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dan, on that. And that's nice that you heard that about me. But there's a lot of people here in Indiana. Indiana has a very strong, deep team. But part of it is the things that many of us have done. I was state chair for 7 years, from about 2000 to 2007. Done a lot of things before that, a lot of things after that. But we understand that in order to get people to vote for us, they have to hear us. They have to be able to understand what we're saying. And we have to work hard. We go door to door here in Indiana in our elections. We do billboards. We do TV if we can find the money, which we oftentimes do. We do radio. We do all types of things in order to reach people. And we're active even when campaigns aren't going on. We're going to the Indiana General Assembly, which is our legislature. And when there are things that concern the Libertarian Party, that could be anything from ballot access all the way to some of their policies that we think we can have influence on, we try to do that. So that's what you do. You reach the voters, you're organized, you raise money, you talk to people, and you get the word out. And everything we do is we're libertarians. There's many ways to do it, but one of the ways to do it, and as a lawyer and a litigator, I understand that I've only got so much time, and it's not very many time to get people's attention. And if I am rude, if I'm offensive, if I'm not clear, then I've lost them, and I've got to work hard to try to reach them again. And I don't have days with them. I have minutes to get their attention and get their interest and get them to start understanding what libertarians are about and why we have the solutions and the other parties don't. So that's kind of the long and short of what's going on in Indiana. And it's, I have the background and the resume to run a national organization, to know how to do that, to lead from the 30,000-foot position. We don't do everything. We help the states do what they can to help their counties, their parishes, their township organizations to get organized and run good candidates. And the best way to get the message out is through the candidates or through people who are doing things like being at the General Assembly or the state legislature. And one thing that people, I don't know if they realize, because unless you're in Indiana, is that I am often on TV. I'm often on radio. I am I get questions from reporters. People know me in Indiana as part of the Libertarian Party of Indiana, and they reach out to me. So I know the media. I know how to do it. I know how to deal with it, and I do it with it all the time. So I've got that background. I'm right now. Since 2007, I've been on the Indiana Public Defender Commission, and I've been chair of the Indiana Public Defender Commission since about 6 months, maybe after I joined it. I was elected chairman and have been since 2007. And I have to work with 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans. I'm nominated as a Libertarian by the governor of Indiana because they did not want to appoint a Democrat.
Wow.
I'm fine with that. It's a seat at the table, and I'm very proud to say that we are very effective because I work with the board to try to get commonality. I promote libertarian ideas, and oftentimes I don't call them that, but I promote what they are, and people do know that on the board what I'm doing. And if it's a good idea, we do it.
How often do people say to you, "I had no idea a libertarian would be so reasonable"? Do you ever?
We are. That's what you do. You listen to them. You tell them when you disagree, but you do it in a reasonable fashion, and you tell them why and nicely. And then afterwards, if it's at a meeting, you go and you have a drink or some food, and you get to know them personally, and they do the same for you. Because the goal for me as a libertarian is to convince people to go that way. And I know that it's a long process. I've watched politics all my life. Some of my earliest memories are being in county garages in Indiana back when it was acceptable. And I'm glad they don't do it anymore. But they did a lot when I was 2, 3, 4 years old, and I saw how people interacted and what they did to get things done. I've seen it as an attorney. And it doesn't happen overnight. All overnight successes in politics, almost every one of them took years and years to get to where it became an overnight success.
Yeah. So I mean, you've taken Indiana has become, I will say, the model party throughout the nation for the Libertarian Party, of the state parties. How do you export that to? You want to be the chair of the Libertarian National Committee. How do you export that now that because right now the Libertarian National Committee has been dysfunctional for years, but the last 2 years have been extraordinarily dysfunctional. And a lot of the infrastructure that has been built over the last 50 years has been torn asunder in the last couple of years. So how do you export that into the Libertarian National Committee?
Well, a lot of the infrastructure is there, and I've been around long enough to see that sometimes it's better and sometimes it's not. Fundraising is horribly down. Membership is down. It looks like the Libertarian National Committee is trying to run the show and everything, and that's not what you do as a national party, as a national committee. You've got to work to provide things that the states want to get better, and the whole goal is to get candidates elected or appointed. And in that process, in my opinion, that's how you educate people, and that's how you do it successfully. Many ways to do it, but if you're going to use a political party, you've got to run candidates, and you've got to run candidates that people go, they may have a good idea. I've heard many people say, the party was this way when it was founded. Well, I've looked at the records, I've looked at the minutes, I've looked at people's recollections of it, and it was just had all different types of opinions on how you do libertarianism and the politics as any other convention that we have from the very first one on. And I was privileged to have been on the Libertarian National Committee with David Nolan, and he would run for office. Now, he was very big and more into the educational aspect of the political party, But when he ran campaigns, he did a good job with it, and he educated through it. I mean, he worked hard, and he had billboards, and he did stuff like talk to voters. So that's what you do when you have a political party.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is clear that Indiana has, had success, pointing to like the Donald Rainwater
Yes.
candidacy, running for governor and getting a sizable percentage of the vote, and getting into the debates and getting out there and getting the message out there. The last couple of years, that's outside of really Chase Oliver's run in the Senate race in Georgia. We haven't seen a whole lot of that.
Right, but what the delegates at the convention have to do is they have to decide not to vote for who's popular or for the latest fling, but to vote for people who understand how to put together an organization and get the word out and get these things done. And that's what's desperately needed at all of our conventions. Every group has to have and has to go for the people who have the background to get the job done. And when you're national chair, you've got to work with everybody else in the Libertarian National Committee. Part of it's convincing them to be good national board officers and not a county chair or not an activist. When I use the term activist, we all are activists in a way, but not the person who necessarily is a person who is drawing the billboards. I mean, we've got to do lots of things, and we've got to set policies. And we've got to have a staff and tell the staff what our boundaries are, what we want them to do. And we have to find the money to do it. And we have to have messaging that isn't detrimental to the states, but it's helpful. I mean, the national chair will get called to be on national audience with podcasts and TV and radio and newspapers and social media, etc. But you have to have a message that's appealing. And that doesn't mean it's not libertarian. It means it's appealing. And a lot of libertarianism is appealing if people will just put it in appealing ways. And that's what you have to do. Is a lot of it is just me talking to people and getting them to do what should be done. And if people want to do stuff that is not appropriate as a national person, that's a 30,000-foot level. That's what I do at the state of Indiana with the Public Defender Commission. That's what my whole board does. We all understand that. We tell them what the policies are. They come to us, and every year we sit down. Here's what we're going to try to accomplish. You tell us, staff, what you think you can do, and we'll keep an eye on you. And you can use our contacts and use us for our resources. There are people we know that you think that we need to talk to, and we'll help you on there. But we're not going to run the day-to-day show. What we're going to do is we're going to run it like a statewide or a national organization and get things done and let the staff do it. And in my standpoint with Public Defender Commission, we're basically the monetary arm of public defenders in Indiana. And if the counties do join it, they don't have to, but over 2/3 do, they follow our rules on what they need to do to have good public defenders, and they get money from the state of Indiana to help them afford to do that. It's the same thing with Libertarian Party. You've got to do things to help people do what needs to be done, but you can't tell them exactly how to do it unless they agree to it. And quite frankly, we're as a national party, we can't run all the states. We've got to let the states do it. And I've talked with state chairs over the years, and what works in Indiana may not work in another state, because the states are different. Our cultures, we have different cultures in the United States, and we have a lot of commonality, but we have different cultures. And so one topic may do great in Indiana, but terrible in, let's say, New York State, may do great in New York State, but terrible in Indiana. The states have to be able to do that and be able to act in a way that recognizes that. But you do things, you do training that is effective, that teaches them how to make better county parties, better local organizations, better parish parties, whatever you have in your system to get that done. And the other thing about national is you've got the presidential election, which is libertarians is who we're supposed to be nominating. And that's what the convention is for, and to elect the national officers. But the other thing is, because of our national scope, we've been actually fairly darn good compared to other third parties. And I can really consider Libertarian the third party. The others are fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. But we need to do that to get our presidential candidates on the ballot and to help the states get on it, because some states it's really hard. And we have a scope where we might be able to get some more people to help them to get it done. That should be a priority. And I'm not so sure that it is now, but it should be.
That has been the hard thing with this last 2 years, is that we've seen states lose their ballot access. We haven't seen really much help from the LNC because they've been so hamstrung with their fundraising, their membership, and all that stuff.
I'll go ahead and call it out. And I would say this current LNC had no desire ballot access. It wasn't that they weren't able to do it. They had no interest in doing it because they don't understand the components of professionalism. And, the definition of professionalism, and what I was talking about earlier, is that if you are a professional, when you have a job, you're supposed to do it. And, you look at Mark's resume. I'll give you a great example. Okay. I got this really nice glossy postcard from Mark in the mail. I've received nothing from any of the other chair candidates. The reason why I got it from Mark, not just to send it to me, not just because he's running for office, because he's a professional and he understands this is how things are done. There are things that you have to do. And that's what I think the LNC needs right now, is that it needs somebody who's going to do the things that are supposed to be done, because we haven't had that happen for 2 years. It's amazing that we didn't lose more than, and let's be honest about it, the LNC has lost $1 million in donations over the last 2 years. This is a presidential year. They should be raking in the dough. Instead, they're selling out to this farce of a conference that we're going to. I would not go to the convention, except that it is so important for me to go, because I find the convention being incredibly distasteful, especially with Trump and Ramaswamy and Kennedy speaking there. Yeah. I would not go, except that I want to go to vote for Mark. So that's my piece on it.
Dan, if you don't show up, you can't change it.
Yep. And Mark, I didn't want to change it until you were running. That was the thing that made me think this might be the one person who can get the party back on track, because I thought it was a lost cause. I've said so. We have listeners who've been listening to me for 2 years saying that the party was done. I didn't think that there would be a person of your caliber who was willing to step up and really take the hit of what is going to be a difficult job for 2 years. So I'm grateful to you for doing that.
It is a difficult job, but I've done it with other organizations. I mean, I've been called upon to help organizations as a board member or eventually an officer, and we've succeeded. It's very hard work, but it's very rewarding. And forming a national party is not that easy. I mean, so it's important that people show up in DC and look to vote for the people who can get the job done and do what needs to be done. It is professional. It's not having one issue that makes people go, oh my gosh, that's awful. Why did you say that? Or I don't like you. You've got to put your words in a way that people go, you've got great ideas. That's how you get things done in the world, and always have. Otherwise, you let people who don't know what they're doing cause problems. And even if they have a good heart, even if they have a good intentions, if they aren't ready yet for the position they're in, they can do incredible damage.
Yeah. One of the things that the national landscape, not just libertarians, but as in our national politics, that we're lacking right now is an option that tells us why we should vote for something. We are being led down all these garden paths with fear right now, whether it's Republicans talking about immigration or Democrats talking about Donald Trump. I mean, it's just we've got nothing but fear that's being sold to us, and having somebody with positive messaging and giving people a reason to vote for something, I think would be refreshing. Like I think people are just so we've been battered back and forth for years, just I call it fear porn. Like we that's all the news is now, is that got to fear this, got to fear that. Immigrants are in your city. Donald Trump's coming. Donald Trump's under indictment. All that stuff, and it's so frustrating to say, I don't know who to vote for because there's no option right now. And I like the idea of having a political party that actually tells us there's a reason to vote for us. And if we can get off of this, what we're doing with this convention, which is selling out to the GOP, and to Kennedy to some extent, it would be nice. It's been so frustrating the last couple of years.
David, you're exactly right. And this is lots of people out there are not voting, or they're saying, I wish I had somebody there to vote for who tell me something that was good to do, what they will do and how they'll do it. I understand what's going wrong. Now, you do have to point out what's going wrong so people understand that. But you don't say that's the only thing happening, or the other side is evil, etc. Those things only go so far. And we're in a time in the society right now that I think that a positive message would make huge headway. And the Democrats and Republicans may not feel that they can do that. They're scared to do that. Or they're just really tied into what they've been doing for the last 20, 30 years heavily. And I think the time is for a change, and we could take advantage of it. But if we don't take advantage of it, then we don't get the benefit from it.
Yeah. So let's say everything goes swimmingly in Washington, D.C., and you are now the national chair coming out of D.C. What are the first things you're really going to focus on doing?
Well, whether you like it or not, the gasoline of the political party, or what you want to call it electricity now, is money. So there'll be a lot of phone calling and trying to get donors who aren't giving to give. And those who are still giving, if they can, if they haven't reached the top level, which I don't think many have, that for them to give more to help do that, because you have to have the staff. You can't have the chair be the executive director, not for the national political party. And so you've got to have somebody whose job is to be the top paid person who's running everything. If you want to have the chair be the executive director, then call them the executive director, describe their duties that way, and then pay them. But you just can't have the national chair doing that, or the people in the LNC, especially if we're going to keep it volunteer. You have to have
an executive director in mind, Mark?
I'm sorry.
Do you have an executive director in mind?
No, because that's the job of the Libertarian National Committee to do. I have people that I will try to convince to apply for it. And that is something that as a national chair I should do, and I should be able to help the LNC find the people. But the first thing the LNC's got to do is hire an executive director.
What about the existing interim executive director? Would you anticipate keeping her on for a period, even if she loses the chair's race, or are you going to move on from her?
You can't have that. I don't know. I mean, if she wants to apply, she's more than free to do that. But I'm not so sure that if I'm running against her as national chair, that right there should tell you that I don't think she should be an executive director either.
Sure.
On that. And it's nothing personal. It's just that what works and what is working, and right now nothing's working to the way that it should. The fundraising going down and membership down and people leaving. And if you want to have a shell of just a few, maybe a few thousand people who aren't listened to and no ballot access, well, you can go that way. But that's not the way I want to go. I want to get things done. I have since I've been involved in the Libertarian Party. I first started getting really active by giving money and support to candidates in the early 90s. Joined in 96. I'm now a life member. I forget when I did that. It's been so long ago, but sometime after that. And been active in my state party, my county party. I still go to county party meetings because that's important. Not as many as I'd like, but if I have free, I do so. And I still help local candidates. Don Rainwater, who did so well in 2020. And part of what we did is Rainwater was very, and I was very involved with helping him on that campaign along with other people. We were very out front saying that what was being done about COVID was wrong and improper. And it was everybody's choice to do what they think should be best, but not be forced to do stuff or to stay in or not go to church, et cetera, et cetera. And now he's been renominated for 2024, and it's wonderful. He won 1/3 of the counties in Indiana. We ran for governor. We were in second place, not third. We were in second place. We beat basically in all the counties the Democrats. And so it can be done if you work hard to do it. And we're getting closer to do it. The nice thing is that when you do that, we no longer have to complain about rainwater being in shows as much as we used to be, and getting it. He gets stuff all the time saying, "Please be with the Republican and Democrat in our program in 30 days." He's getting invited to these things because he proved what he was. He had a message. It was a positive message from the standpoint he proved what was wrong. But the positive was it was for individuals to do what they thought was best, whether that would be to wear a mask or not wear a mask. But it shouldn't be forced upon people. And I mean, that can get you all types of arguments, even with some libertarians. But, it was a positive message in that people should be able to rule themselves and do what's best for themselves. And that's a very libertarian message. But you do have to consider other people, but you can. I mean, one of the things he would talk about is that, there's situations where a business wants you to wear a mask, you don't want them to wear a mask, well, don't do business with them. That sends a message, and the people doing that can decide whether that was a good message they sent or not. But it's a better society if you let people make their own decisions. And the nice thing about Indiana, and we've elected at least 30 people to elected office over the last, since about 1998. We've there's some we don't know about, but appointed to office as libertarians, we're up to 38 now. And that may not sound like a lot, but it is a lot. That's 68 elected and appointed positions that we know of in Indiana, and there's probably some smaller little towns, etc. It's easier to track who's elected than it is to track who's appointed in Indiana. So there may be 2 or 3 other people who were appointed in Indiana we don't know about. But it's good because we get things done. So many times I talk to people who have been appointed or elected to office in Indiana, and they go to a meeting and they say, "But the law says this." And everybody goes, "Oh, we didn't know that. Well, thanks for letting us know. We need to change things." I mean, that's what happens when libertarians get elected. We make society better and government run better. And in most libertarians' book, government is way too big. And if nothing else, we start making government a little smaller, a little bit more efficient, and life better for the voters and their families.
Absolutely. Let's see. Well, tell us. I mean, we've heard a little bit about what your background is. You're a lawyer. You're on the Public Defenders Commission in Indiana. But how did you join the Libertarian Party?
Well, how did I do that? Well, I knew about it when it was founded. Although I was about 11, 12 years old, my dad was a political columnist and a copy editor for the Indianapolis News. And for years, he 2, 3, 4 times a week, he wrote a short article about what's going on in politics. And he focused on things that weren't being focused generally by the media. And so he did. He noticed that this Libertarian Party was being formed nationally, and he reported on it. I remember talking with him about that. And he kept talking about it. In 1980, when I was in college, several of my fraternity brothers volunteered to give out handouts in the community we were in, and we're helping the Clark campaign for Libertarian Party. So I saw that and was intrigued by it. I mean, my decision, I had to decide whether I'd vote for Libertarian or not. I regret to say I didn't in 1980. But I do remember that I thought about it and didn't make the decision until I got in the voting booth on who I was going to vote for, and the Libertarian was right there in my mind. I was involved in politics in the 80s and early 90s, but I quickly realized that there was no place for me and that I was more libertarian. And then I had friends who are lawyers running as libertarians. Excuse me.
I'm going to fill this in a little bit that you talk about, having friends with lawyers. And I want to cycle back to how maybe some of your professional work guided you in that respect too, because being chair for the public defender's office, in many ways, public defender is the most libertarian of all positions
Well,
in the
yes.
court system.
Yes. And I know a lot of public defenders, and I served as a public defender, although I've been mostly a business litigator and work and advising businesses on things like contracts, et cetera, for most of my career. But I did do criminal defense work and have a background in it. And the people that I saw running for office, the lawyers, they were part of the criminal defense world. And I was starting to give money with them, working with them, supporting them, saying, yeah, this is good. And finally heard Harry Brown, probably 94, 95 on Indianapolis radio, and went, okay, I just need to commit to it. And finally did in 96. So I'm glad I did. It took me a little while because I knew lots of people who were trying to change things in other parties. And I just finally went, it's not going to happen. We've got to do it from the outside, not within those two parties.
That's great.
Well, that's good. I think that we've given a pretty fair background, and obviously on my part, incredibly unbiased in terms of the chair race. But, before we go on to the rest of the show, and we'll ask you, you're welcome to stick around for the rest of the show too. Is there any message that you want to put out? Anything that you want to tell people? Is there a website where people can find out more about your campaign for chair?
Yeah. I do have a website that has stuff on that. And unfortunately, I don't have that up right now. I'm sorry about that.
Right.
And usually professionally, I should have, but it's been a very long day for various reasons.
Wow.
But we'll
find
the
it.
Facebook
Mark.
page is Rutherford 4, the number 4, chair, and you can get on it from there, and you can reach my website and how to get on that. Websites are interesting. It's on Nation Builder. It's Rutherford LNC, Rutherford 4 LNC chair, or something like that. .nationbuilder.com.
LNC.
If you do just a web search, you'll find
.nationbuilder.com. You know what? I am going to make a quick tiny URL for that, and we'll put it up on the screen. Give me 1 second.
I have that slightly wrong because it's weird how things work when you do that and what's available and what's not, etc. on that.
Yeah, that's okay because we are going to fix that right now.
Good.
They're handy.
Yeah,
You should
we're
be
all
friends
techie
with them.
guys. We're techie guys. We
You
fix that
should
stuff.
keep them as friends, Mark. They're cool. They're the only libertarians that I associate with. I'll tell you that.
So
Or post-libertarians or whatever the fuck y'all are now.
so let's talk about that. What would be your message to people who have left the Libertarian Party?
Well, you have to be somewhere where you're happy with it, at least think you can get things done. And I appreciate people who think that's no longer working for them. If they don't want to be in a political party or be involved in politics, that's one thing. But if they do, it's hard. I mean, it's amazing what the Libertarian Party has done since it was founded. And to actually create a viable national party and state parties, etc. Some are stronger than others in the state parties, and the counties are though. But in Indiana, every year it gets better and better. There's other states where I see the same thing happening. It gets better and better, and every political party has ups and downs. I see it. I'm very involved with my college and my fraternity in the college, and I see that over time. Some years are better than others. Sometimes it's great, but we don't leave it. We change it if we don't like what's there, and it may take a while. And there's just a lot there and a lot of history that it's important for people to stay and to try to change it. If everybody I knew who said they weren't showing to the convention because they were just fed up showed up to the convention, then I'd be elected chair, and it would be a very different LNC than right now, where it's going to be competitive, and I need people there.
So, I mean, that's one thing that we've heard is that the powers that be now are trying to align to prevent delegates from certain states, whether it's Michigan, they're currently suing the state of Michigan, or other states that are not seen as Mises friendly, to unseat their delegates or stack other delegations with delegates that are more friendly to your opponent. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know that our national secretary has been putting out a lot of information about doing exactly that.
I'm sorry. Could you say that again? I'm sorry.
The secretary tweeted that a lot of states are going to be disqualified because their bylaws are not legal. I'm wondering if you have heard that, if you have thoughts
I've heard that. I've heard a lot of things. I don't know what will happen, but that's why you try to get back in charge, because if people who are in charge who will do things like that will try to do things like that if they want to. And that's why you need to try to get back in charge, and to expect those things may happen and you have to fight them. And I'm pretty radical as a former state chair, is that the states choose who their delegates are. And unless the bylaws say something totally different, and the bylaws are pretty, in my opinion, kind of brief on that for the Libertarian National Committee, you got to go with what the state chairs say. And if the state delegation or the people in the state don't like it, they have mechanisms in order to fight it or deal with it. It may not be immediate, but it may be later. And that's what you do to have a healthy organization. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. What it means is it's going to be fair and done properly. And the National Party is reliant on the states. The National Party created the states. That there's not a lot about what the states have to do after they're created, just a few things. And so you've got to respect that. There probably was a reason for it. And if you don't like that, change the bylaws. They may try to do that, but that's the way you do it.
So I briefly mentioned the lawsuit against Michigan. Is that something that's going to end if you are elected chair?
Well, that's a Libertarian National Committee decision, but I've got to tell you that I'm not a big fan of National Party suing over anything of the affiliates. Not a big thing for me, and it's something that I think was not a good tact, and I just wish wouldn't have happened, but the LNC has to make that decision. It's just not the chair, unless the LNC gives the chair the authority. And see, here's what I do. I do things that are required under the bylaws and how bylaws work and how organizations function. And if my third priority gets selected, not my first, I will help do what needs to be done to make sure the third priority that was selected on an issue by the LNC gets done. That's what you do. If you don't like it or you think it's totally offensive, then you do what you have to do. You tell people you don't like it, or if you have to quit, you quit. But you don't do that unless you have absolutely no choice but to do so. You do it, you fight it, you get done what needs to be done. And many a times, as I've been the chair or president of an organization where I'm not, you picked the wrong priority, but it's an okay priority, we'll get it done, you're going to move forward and you're going to get a lot of good things done. And the Rutherford Chair LNC.nationbuilder.com is the website. I just got it. So Rutherford Chair LNC.nationbuilder.com.
Mark, we made two better ones for you. tinyurl.com/markforchair with either the number 4 or the word 4. So tinyurl.com/markforchair will now go to your website.
Very good. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Easy to do. So, you raise an interesting point because you say it's the prerogative of the LNC, but it is interesting because we have always been a strong chair model.
Yes.
And so the chair puts a lot of things forward, but we are fundamentally still a Roberts organization, which means that anybody can appeal the ruling of the chair.
That's right.
In order to sustain your decisions, you need 50% of the members of the LNC to work with you.
That's right.
Now, I can assume that whoever is the regional representative from your district will be, is it Evan currently?
No, it's Dustin Nana for the 3rd district, which is Indiana's in.
Gotcha. I'm assuming that those people, they know you well enough. What do you feel like your support's going to be like in the other regions? I mean,
well, it depends on the state and the regions. Some are more supportive than others. But I've got support all over the place. And my support isn't just people who, that might be called the old guard. I've got new people, old people, people of all different types of groups or caucuses who are looking for somebody who will help get things done and will respect people's ability to speak at meetings, to approach with new ideas, and if a decision is made, that it will be implemented and not taken away. And if it's been budgeted for, it will be funded, and the budget not just held there, or because of lack of fundraising, it doesn't get done. There's a lot of people out there that want to see a functional political party. And we're going to have the arguments. We're going to have, you can call them fights if you want to. We're going to have discussions on what's the top priorities. But that's way different than having a very unpleasant atmosphere and people feeling that they can't speak up. If they do speak up, they're going to be punished. I know we're a political party. People talk about doing that. But let's face it, we're number 3. And that means that it's hard for us to get people elected. We've got to work together to get people elected. And we're not going to do that if we don't work together.
I think that's a great closing statement.
Yeah.
To that end, and we're gonna push the website a few more times, but Mark, you are welcome to stay on for the end of till the end of the show, which is about 40 minutes from now. On the other hand, I know that you've had a very busy day, and you have a very busy week ahead of you.
Right.
So if you want to sign off, we'll finish off the show, or if you want to stay, you're welcome to. Whatever you would like.
Yeah. I will be signing off, but I really thank you for the opportunity to be a part of it, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and I wholeheartedly, I'm not a delegate. I'm not in a very friendly state, but I wholeheartedly endorse your candidacy, and I hope that you win and can turn this around, because it is absolutely devastating what's gone on in the last couple of years, and I think that you're going to be the one that can you're going to be the, to borrow the name of your candidate in your state, you're going to be the rainmaker. You're going to be the guy that's
we got one question. Let's take one question from the floor, and then we'll let you go. Steve Dosbach, former executive director, wants to know if you will reduce the use of executive sessions.
Yes. That's very simple. Indiana Public Defender Commission, we have rights to do executive sessions, and we do maybe one or less a year, and it's always about our employees, and it's stuff that for various reasons must remain confidential because of lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
But it's very rarely used, and it's most of our job is to be very public about it, and we are.
I think that is the right model. When I was the executive director, it was the same thing. The only time executive session was ever used was to talk about employee salaries, which I think is a fair thing. With that, we will let you go, get some sleep, get rested, and I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, Mark.
Very good. I'll see you there in DC. Well. Thank you, Dan. Thank you all.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
All right. Should we, the rest of us, talk some news? Should we go straight to the quiz?
So let's do a little bit of news. I saw a story this week that caught my eye on Drudge Report. I'm
already excited.
The title was enough for me. Opinion: Evangelicals see Trump's hedonism as godly masculinity.
Wait, they call hedonism godless masculinity?
Godly masculinity.
Godly masculinity. God. Well, that's very different from godless.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The idea of hedonism itself, right? To live a life in pursuit of pleasure.
Yes.
In many ways, that's Ayn Rand, right? That's objectivism.
Yes.
It's, what happens is that, the things that please you as a youth are not the same things that please you later on in life. In fact, I just saw a very interesting. No,
it's the political beast, I think.
I saw a very interesting political cartoon. It said, "Dating in your 20s. Gosh, I hope he likes me. Dating in your 30s. Gosh, I hope I like him. Dating in your 40s. Gosh, I hope dinner's good." Because your perspective changes as you get older. So the idea that hedonism is a bad thing, I think that, hedonism is in fact an acknowledgement of humanity, that humans are driven by the desire to be pleased and please themselves. But you learn, as a baby or as a child, you only think about yourself. And then you get a little older and you realize that, as a child, if you grow up in a loving household, you learn that pleasing your parents gives you pleasure as well. You learn to be nice to other people and take care of them. And in your 20s, you're still somewhat narcissistic, but you become aware of the fact that other people have feelings and, you want to please them, and that gives you pleasure. And if, you mature into a sentient adult, you find that the thing that makes life best is to be surrounded by friends who you can make happy because they want to do the same thing for you. So,
but
I think when
never
they say
developed
hedonism,
beyond the baby thing. Like, he's still wearing diapers, so I mean that. But like, he's still just for himself.
yeah.
Well, he has not developed beyond that, and that's the thing with the evangelicals. You are like, for years, people have been waiting for that shoe to drop. How far does he have to push the envelope to lose the support of the evangelicals? And I don't think that there is a limit now.
No, well, because I will say that to a certain extent, I appreciate the evangelicals being honest about this. They do want the Handmaid's Tale. That's what they want. They want women to return to their role as breeders and not partners, right? Judeo-Christian, and I'll call out all the old school monotheistic religions where they go so far as to say God made man in his image, and it just goes downhill from there. There's a fascinating story in the original. It's in the Kabbalah. The original story of the Garden of Eden is that God made Adam and Lilith. And people are familiar with the Lilith fair. That's where this name comes from. Lilith was an independent, sentient creature. And when Adam's like, "Oh, my feet hurt. Will you rub them?" She's like, "No." He's like, "I'm really hungry. Will you go cook me something?" She's like, "No, cook something yourself." And finally, Adam said, "God, I can't take this creature who, goes off and does her own thing. You have to help me out." And so
Send me a bear.
God sent Lilith away, and then God made Adam from Eve's rib. The idea that she is made subservient to him.
You said that backwards, but I like his better.
God made Eve from, what did I say?
You said Adam.
God made Adam from Eve's rib.
Thank you. God made Eve from Adam's rib to make her subservient. And that is the fundamental basis of.
And she said,
gender. Well, but yeah, and that right, and then Eve gets blamed for all the bullshit, which she really wasn't responsible for.
I mean, if that's not the typical fucking story, I don't know what is.
Well, and one of the really interesting things about it, any slight bit of research, and you will find out, it does not say that Eve ate an apple in the Garden of Eden. It is 100% not an apple. It is some other sort of fruit. But that's the story that goes on about it. Evangelicals want to get back to that part, right? Where it's the men as the lead character in all the stories. And for them, that's where they want to be. It's interesting. I learned, we've talked about this before, but
would you characterize any of Donald Trump's wives as "quote unquote" trad wives? Even Melania, to an extent, is fairly independent.
Yeah, I mean, she was a model. Well, you're gonna get me into trouble into this one, because I'm gonna make an argument that
what's Virginia level? Nice.
Melania was in the trad model business, which
sure, I guess.
Yeah, which is not about power, but about service.
Yeah.
As opposed to Sheryl Sandberg.
Yeah.
Your name wrong. Lean in, something like that. People do what they want. I'm not poo-pooing modeling as a career. If that's your jam, that's your jam.
Mine
I
didn't take
can't
off.
think, with the exception of Brooke Shields, who now is really talking about the abuse she suffered in the field and all the terrible things that happened to her and stuff like that. I can't think of, maybe Janice Dickinson too. I can't think of many models who I think of as, that's the career where, you expose the patriarchy. In general, you think about the work that models do, it's in because that's where society is, but it's in a very male dominated space. So I wouldn't call them, well, I don't know.
I wouldn't call her
yeah.
She's not in that trad wife mold of being on the farm working, making butter.
She's not certainly not Susie Homemaker.
No, not at all. But yeah, it's a.
But Trump is nothing like any of the things they want because in addition to all that other stuff, Trump is a playboy in the worst sense of the word. He claimed to have paid for thousands of abortions. All these things that the evangelicals should hate, but actually what they like is the fact that he can do all these things and not be held accountable for them, because that's the world that they want.
Yeah, because then he's going to allow them to do that stuff. Yeah, yep. He's going to usher in that world in exchange for their loyalty, in exchange for allowing, basically giving Trump a pass on becoming. I saw another Twitter thread today about Barron Trump. So Barron Trump is now 18 years old.
Yep.
He's going to be a delegate to the Republican National Committee. So he's stepping out into politics for the first time.
He's very tall.
Very tall. Yeah. Pretty decent looking dude. People are talking about setting him up with princesses like Habsburgs and like,
right.
That's kind of a frightening concept that you want to marry the youngest son of people right now that, especially within the Trumpverse, want to have Trump as this kind of godlike dictator.
Yeah.
Like he's going to take care of it and he's going to give them the godly life that they want. And I don't know. I mean, like
I think that Melania said that he had other obligations or something.
Oh, I think so he resigned but I mean, most of Trump's family is somewhere within the Republican round. His daughter-in-law is one of the RNC chairs, funneling vast sums of money to the Trump campaign for his legal fees. Which is always good when you're trying to run a campaign or run a national campaign and take over houses of Congress, when you just deny all of those candidates any support. That's good tactic. But fire the kid before you get stuck with him before too. Yeah, well, I mean it was a delegate position. It wasn't like he was an official member of the RNC, but I get really worried when I see people are like, yeah, let's make this kid a prince and have some kind of weird exactly. Let's share that.
I love that.
Up here, right here, Blue Dog Design. If you want that T-shirt, it's there. Scan the QR code, check it out. But yeah, we're turning the family into, I mean, people want to pimp this kid off to royalty, which kind of tells me the direction they want this country to go in. And I used to laugh. Remember the old website Liberty Hangout?
Yeah,
I called it Trollberty Handjob because it was just absolutely nowhere near anything libertarian. They actually ended up going complete monarchist. That's something that they, we would laugh about that, but now people are kind of embracing, especially on this weird MAGA cult thing, is they're embracing this idea of either a dictator or a king.
Yeah, it's it is the destruction, right? It's funny because I used to talk about how
Destruction, dude. Make him marry Putin.
the thing about the Iraq War in 1992 that we all generally opposed, but it was an important war at the time because it was in many ways the last defense of tyranny, or so I thought.
Went
Saddam
down the wrong
Hussein
pipe.
was Saddam Hussein was the last real tyrant. You can argue the Saudi kings and some crown princes and stuff like that, but those are small countries.
Yeah.
Hussein ruled through a brutal secret police. North Korea is obviously a tyrant as well, but one of the last defenses of it. I never imagined that people would be trying to bring tyranny back to the United States
Well, I mean,
because
you think about it, that's 30 years ago. Like
yeah,
I mean, there's been a generation and a half of people brought in probably were even more than that, probably two generations of people that weren't really paying attention to the Gulf War are, at least 30 years, almost 30 years of that is now voting.
right,
And they don't, it's like the people that are kind of running into the idea of communism. They don't remember the 1980s. They don't remember the Cold War. That they see, they may see like old films and stuff, but they're like, well, they fall into that trap of real communism has never been tried. Um,
right.
it's just the fact that communism always gets stuck on that brutal
Well,
slaughter
but,
of their own people type
well,
issues. So
but more than that, real communism, and we've said this on the show a bunch of times. Real communism makes Uber illegal. Real communism makes your local weed dealer a criminal. Okay, real communism is about a controlled government economy where people can't do what they want, and the people who do want to do themselves, who do want to own their own business, they are enemies of the state.
it's not even just that. It's that it takes people and forces them to produce and does not have any of the it really doesn't give you any of the incentive to do so. So I mean that's why a lot of the things with the Soviet Union failed is that you had people forced to do things to bring the products to market, and you ran out of bread and you ran out of certain things because there was corruption and all that fun stuff that goes along with it. Um, but yeah, people are as we move further and further away from those awful things that we witnessed, when we were younger. People are kind of looking back and saying, "Was it that bad? Was it that bad?" I mean, there are some movements that we can all look back and say, "Oh yeah, that was awful." Like Nazism,
Yeah.
absolutely awful.
But
But
even that, you go back and you look at it, and there certainly is an attempt to rewrite history to say
oh
it
yeah,
wasn't really that bad,
by the
right?
Libertarian Party
It
in New
wasn't. It
Hampshire.
wasn't. Not all Germans. All that bullshit that's going on.
Yeah,
Bush is like Hitler. All that other stuff to try to minimize it. That rewriting of history happens constantly, and that's
yeah.
why those who do not remember history are doomed to repeat it.
Or
And that's
condemned to
why.
make American foreign policy.
But that's why the Trump group opposes the 1619 Project.
Oh yeah,
People who aren't familiar with it, 1619 Project teaches the history of African Americans in the United States. That history began when the first slaves were brought over. There were some
in 1619.
free black people who came over, but most blacks in the United States came over as slaves and are now the descendants of slaves. The 1619 Project forces Americans to deal with that unpleasant truth that the quote unquote American economic miracle is built on the back of cheap slave labor in the South. And the idea of American exceptionalism, that our phenomenal wealth exists because America is better, is not, you can certainly talk about some things about that, but it's all built on a country that achieved a lot of its initial capital via slave labor. to not talk about that is to pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's what this breed of conservative wants to do. They want to forget that the North won the Civil War. They want to forget that slavery was a critical part of American politics, because those things are awkward for them to realize. They'd like to say, oh, no, this is just the way it is. And, you know, the Libertarian Party, right, came out with an ethno-nationalist tweet last week because that's where they want to be. Exactly, right? Not all Klan members are bad. Like, for example, the Klan member that I like the most, I am Colin McLeod of the Clan McLeod, and I'm immortal. What am I talking about, AJ?
No idea.
All right, I'm throwing
No
it
idea
out there.
anymore.
I'm throwing it out there with to the audience. Name the quote. I'm Colin McLeod of the Clan McLeod, and I'm immortal. Chuck
That's a Highlander.
Yeah, nice job, AJ. Chuck raised the point. 1619 Project has a lot of things in it. Every history curriculum has some problems with it.
Yes.
However, this part I am sure of. The North won the Civil War.
The right side won.
Right.
I will point that out all day long. You come and tell me that the South was rebelling over certain economic aspects. Yeah, absolutely, they were fighting against the North for certain economic aspects, tariffs, things like that. But they were
based on slavery.
Thing was their free labor.
Right.
That was the main economic thing that they were fighting.
Right. Exactly. And so here's the idea that anybody who is still trying to refight the Civil War, anybody trying to rehash those things, they're making an enormous mistake. So, in that space, as I'm clearly falling asleep like now, people should go to Blue Dog Design, scan that QR code up there. Right now, just take a second with your phone and scan it up there. Oh, and also, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, click and mash the like button. We need shares, all of those things. Yep, exactly. West Virginia is not actually its own state. It is actually its own state.
It is.
However, the John Denver song is about the western part of Virginia.
No, it's about Maryland. It was written about Maryland. Do you know?
Virginia just fit better.
Yeah, it was a lyrical choice to say West Virginia because it was it fit. But the couple that wrote it, they also wrote one of the most famous songs of 1976, summer of 1976, about afternoon coitus. But they wrote
Afternoon Delight.
Yeah. So Bill and I can't remember what her name was, but Taffy, I think, was the last name. They wrote the song after driving between, I think it was like Germantown and somewhere else in Western Maryland, like the western part of Maryland, not complete Western Maryland, but that's where they wrote the song. That's how they were inspired. So it was actually about Maryland. At least the inspiration came from Maryland, but it is West Virginia. It says West Virginia in the song.
Good to know. Let's do the quiz.
Let's do the quiz. Y'all ready?
Let's see what happens.
Skyrockets in flight, afternoon delight.
I love that scene in Good Will Hunting where Will is pretending to be hypnotized by the psychologist, and then he starts singing. Gonna find my baby, gonna hold her tight.
Well, I was just thinking of the Anchorman version. I thought the Anchorman version was better.
The Anchorman version was very good as well. Right, the harmonies. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they really nailed on the harmonies on that one. There we go.
Well, harmonies are one of those things that if you do it over time.
Charming me with harmony.
I saw the Met Gala.
The Hunger Games.
Well,
yeah, I mean, it is.
I had a friend who was there.
The Capitol.
Lucas Mayer, who is the head of Microsoft AI for Good, was there sporting the new Meta glasses, which is Facebook's answered Google glasses.
I thought, are they still doing Google Glasses? Like I thought
So
they gave up
Google
on
stepped
that.
away from Google Glass. Meta has a thing coming out. Remember, Meta bought Oculus, and
Yeah,
so they have it's in very limited distribution.
so you can
High-end
watch
tech
porn
influencers
wherever
have
you're
them.
at.
And it's interesting because they have a couple things about it. For one, they do have a camera here, but they also have a red light. So if they're recording, the red light is always on. So that
That's
it's
good.
not
I'm
like
sure there's somebody gonna be able to defeat that. But yeah, I mean
well, electrical tape will be able to defeat it.
I
But
was about to say,
yeah, I mean the way that it works to make it harder to do is that it's the light is in a ring around the camera, so it would be
yeah,
hard to tape over it without taping over the camera. But somebody will
yeah,
figure it out at some point.
yeah.
But I thought it
They'll
was
be able
really
to hack
cool.
into it somehow.
You don't see a lot of high-end software geeks get invited to the Met Gala, and he posted
Yeah,
a bunch of pictures that he took with his camera and glasses, and they were very good.
nice. All right, 5 things weekly news quiz. May 9th, 1924, or 1924, 2024. So everything was
wow.
happening on, I'm behind a little bit. Uh, but everything that happened on Friday and Saturday and today is not in this quiz. So this is early in the week and later part of last week. All right, question number one: what is the name of the Boeing spacecraft that has had its launch delayed this week? Voyager, Starliner, Galactica, or Phoenix?
I actually don't know this,
I do know this
but
one.
it's clearly not Voyager or Galactica, and it's unlikely to be Starliner because that is a Dr. Moulton, thank you for that link. I will follow up on that and read some of the 1619 critiques. Starliner is the name of a Amtrak train, so I think it has to be Phoenix.
It's actually the
However,
Starliner.
is it Starliner?
It is the Starliner.
All right. Well, so that's good because
Yeah.
I
James says
wouldn't want
Phoenix.
to name it after something that catches on fire.
This is true. Although that's part of the problem is that there was a valve issue that prevented the launch. They are. It's going to launch not before the 17th of May though. So sometime this month it's supposed to launch. But yeah, the long-awaited first crewed mission of Boeing's Starliner spacecraft was delayed Monday after engineers identified a valve. I think it was in stage 3 that was like when you're way too high and they're actually into the um, into space that you don't want something like that to go wrong.
Oh, that's a different kind of way too high,
Way too high, yeah.
dude.
Stop by the edible shop
Way,
on the way out of town, you know.
way too
Talking
high.
about
Way too high.
high.
I am way too high to order at Waffle House. You need to order for me.
All right, question number 2. President Joe Biden warned he may stop sending American weapons to which country? Ukraine, South Korea, Japan, or Israel?
It's Israel. I want to point out that's not what he said, right? He said that he would stop sending certain types of weapons.
Yeah, I think so.
And, you know, as much as I didn't want him to say that sort of thing, it is terribly sloppy reporting to say that he's going to stop sending weapons to Israel.
He said, it points out here he would halt some shipments of American weapons to Israel.
Right.
If Netanyahu ordered a major invasion of the Gazan city of Rafah, which I saw a video of them dropping leaflets today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, they're.
So
I mean, they're
it
going.
Looks like it's going forward.
Well, so there's a couple of interesting comments on that. First of all, Netanyahu's comment that I like the best, and I don't really like Netanyahu, but his comment that I like the best is like, you can withhold all the weapons you want. We will fight with our fingernails if we have to. And yes, they will. The other thing that I'll say in that space is that Biden said if Hamas released all the hostages, we would have a ceasefire within 12 hours. And that's true.
Yeah.
Right? There are still women being held hostage men being held hostage, American citizens being held hostage, and all that has to happen. And everybody who is not calling for the hostages to be released first is encouraging Hamas to not release the hostages.
Yeah, I mean, I just know how this negotiation is going to go. That they're not going to release it because they're not comfortable with the. And I hate to use that term comfortable, but they're not comfortable with the idea of not having that protection anymore.
Well, it's not that. It's that they think that they can't lose. They think that a public opinion will eventually force Israel to stop, and they'll be able to declare that as a victory. And that's where it is.
Yeah.
I think America won't. Israel won't be able to go to the mattresses.
Question from the audience. Chris Baker says, "What do we think of Javier Milei? He talks a good game. I'm not sure that he's going to deliver. I mean, he's delivering some of this stuff, but I think it's going to be kind of like a mix of quasi-libertarianism versus Trumpism.
Nobody in a democracy, right, in a country with a legislature, can come in as president and make everything work awesome. Now,
sure,
in my presidential campaign in 2028, I'm just getting that out. But I'm running on a very simple thing, which is I'm going to veto every piece of legislation that comes across my desk as president. Okay. The only exception might be repeal of a law, sunsetting a law, something like that. There, I might sign off on it. But I'm going to veto every legislation. I'm going to make Republicans and Democrats learn to get together. The interesting thing about Milei is that, full disclosure, he's a friend of a friend. He's friends with Martha Bueno. Libertarian Party of Florida kicked him out of their convention when he was scheduled as a speaker.
Really?
What happened was Martha had brought him in as a speaker, and then they kicked her out. So when they kicked her out, he was kicked out as well. So he doesn't have any nice feelings about the Libertarian Party of Florida. And I'm assuming, as a result, probably not any nice feelings about the Libertarian Party of the United States.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That's okay. I'm interested to see what he's going to be able to do. Libertarians, and he is certainly more libertarian than a lot of other public leaders. He is in favor of a smaller government, and he has dramatically reduced the budget of Argentina. So let's see what happens. I certainly wish him the best of luck.
Yeah. All right. 150th Kentucky Derby ended in a dramatic photo finish. We talked about this last week.
Yep, because I won.
That's right. Which famed venue has been home to the race since 1875?
AJ knows. Where is the Kentucky Derby?
Aintree Racecourse, Ascot Racecourse, Churchill Downs Racetrack, or Saratoga Racecourse?
I need a phone a friend, please.
Well, all right. Here's my phone a friend response. I was like, well, it's in Kentucky.
God damn it, Dan! We only have 30 seconds. Quit giving me a fucking riddle.
All right, it's the one that says racetrack.
Racetrack, Churchill Downs, really?
Yep.
Yes, Churchill Downs. I would have given her like a Winston Churchill quote or something like that.
But
that would have been lost too.
I want to point out too. Look at all the birds in this photo.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? They're just hanging out.
Yeah, just chilling. They're waiting for the horses to go by and then go back out on the track.
They want to examine the horse poop and see if there's any seeds in it.
Maybe. All right, question number 4. Which member of the U.S. House of Representatives was spared from losing his leadership position this week? House Speaker Mike Johnson, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries, or Majority Whip Tom Emmer?
I think it's Mike Cox.
Mike Hunt?
Oh, Mike Johnson. Sorry.
Yes, Mike Johnson. Very anticlimactic. She laid the motion to remove him, and immediately, I think it was Steve Scalise introduced a motion to table, and that was resoundingly voted for. So there wasn't even a vote on his tenure. That was
and that
tabled.
motion to table passed like 390 to 19 or something.
Yeah, it was basically the Free Dumb Caucus, and basically everybody else voted for it or voted
Yeah.
to table.
All
All right,
right.
question number 5. The CDC launched new rules for bringing which animal into the United States? Fish, bird, dogs, or snakes? I'm looking at the context clue here, and it looks like a dog to me.
I wonder if there's a context clue in the grammar. In that it doesn't say which animals, it says which animal. And in the results below, there are 3 plurals and one singular plural.
Oh, we got James saying snakes.
James, there's no snakes on this motherfucking plane.
That's right. Right along.
Well, okay.
Ken says Snoop Doggy Dog.
Is it
The
is it
D-O-double-G.
snakes? I can't see it. Does it actually have an S
Scroll
at the
down,
end of it?
Dave.
Oh, yeah, hold on a second.
Because fish is technically plural as well. You don't say fishes.
Right.
You
You say fishies.
Goldfish cracker. Yeah.
So
Okay, right.
they're all plural.
You use them to make, right. But fish is a singular plural. So you say which animal, you would say fish. I don't think you would say which
gotcha.
animal and say birds.
Dan, did you get any new rules this week for entering the country? Since you are the fisherman.
I did not. And it's interesting because I am leaving the country soon. But speaking of which,
are you going to be bringing back a dog?
I will not be bringing back a dog, but I will not be on the show next Sunday. So figure out who you want to replace me as a guest host.
Sadness.
You should get somebody good. But my guess is fish, but I have no idea.
It looks like a dog, though.
Lots of people say snakes.
All right. You want to do snakes or fish or dogs? Or
the audience wants snakes, unless people say other things.
All right, let's do snakes.
Come on, audience. Where's Janice?
Dogs.
Look
at that.
It was
Look at that.
dog.
That's a dog right there.
It is a dog. Good guess, Dave.
Always use the context clues.
Yes.
All right, question number 6. Which organization announced that it plans to change its name more than 100 years after it was established, to the consternation of a lot of the people that it should piss off? American Red Cross, NAACP, Boy Scouts of America, or the Salvation Army?
I know this one.
I know this one too.
Yay. Does the audience know?
The audience knows. It's the Boy Scouts of America.
Which I didn't hear about until I heard somebody complaining, which is how I find out anything anymore.
Which, I just want to say.
They hadn't even been paying attention because they've been had girls in Boy Scouts for the last, 3 or 4 years at least.
And people who want to be creeped out, look up the memorial statue, the Boy Scout Memorial in Washington, D.C., because it is the most inappropriate memorial ever. It is a Boy Scout and a naked man. I'm not even kidding. It's crazy. That statue needs to go.
That is creepy.
What the?
It's super creepy.
All right. Question number 7. Which type of medical device was recently impacted by a widespread technical issue? Ventilators, insulin pumps, hearing aids, or power wheelchairs?
Can you repeat the question?
Which type of medical device?
AJ got my joke.
Wow. Damn. So I guess you're going with hearing aids, huh?
I'm totally just guessing. I don't know. I think that if it were insulin pumps or ventilators,
a whole lot more about it.
Yeah, exactly. No pun intended.
Tom Queter, if you're still out there, I think he would know. He would be out there with the power wheelchairs. So,
Yep.
All right, let's do hearing aids.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
that is a
200
big deal.
people?
Wow.
Shutdown expected. Oh my
But
gosh.
That's some
kinda
fucking bullshit
weird.
right there.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Because how
Wow.
would you not know?
Why did we not hear about that?
That's only 200 people.
Oh my God. All right. Question number 8. Which event is known as fashion's biggest night of the year? I'm not sure there's much
Really?
fashion going on there.
Yeah, you know what? I don't even know if I'd go with that because I've always heard that the Oscars is fashion's biggest night of the year.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think
But
it's
the Oxford
whichever
Jew-
event the celebrities are doing this week is the most fashionable
the-
event of the year.
Right.
You're
It's the
probably
Met
What are the
right.
rich people doing?
Right.
It's the Met Gala. It's not the New York Mets,
Yep. It is
who
in New
almost
York.
got no hit yesterday. Watching that game, it was one out away from being no hit by the Braves, and JD Martinez hit a home run.
It's very interesting. I read an interesting article about the demise of the staff ace and how it's uncommon for. I mean, I guess there just aren't that many pitchers like that anymore.
Well, everything's on a pitch count now. Like
Right.
you can't. Like Max Fried he threw a no hitter through 7 innings, and they pulled him. First reliever got through his inning, and then the second reliever got through 2 outs, and then gave up the home run. Back in the day, if you tried to pull a pitcher in the middle of a no hitter for anything other than injury, they probably gotten punched out on the mound by the pitcher themselves.
I was a little surprised at that too. Like, I mean, let the guy give up a hit before you pull him.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
pitchers are so managed now. It's like they don't do anything other than you get to 75 to 100 pitches. Later in the season, they get a little bit more, but they're pulled, and it's gotten to the point where they're talking about changing the rules about, because you know that as a pitcher you have to pitch a minimum number of innings. As a starting pitcher, you have to pitch a minimum number of innings to get a victory. But a lot of pitchers are getting pulled in the 4th inning when you have to pitch at least 5 to get credit for the victory. And they're talking about changing the rules to accommodate that. And I don't know. I mean, it's just, I think everything is too managed now, and you're still seeing just absolutely tons of injuries from pitchers.
Yeah. It's pretty
All
crazy.
right. Question number 9. Which company is withdrawing its COVID-19 vaccine citing low demand? AstraZeneca, Moderna, Novavax, or Pfizer BioNTech?
I think it's got to be Novavax, but I could be wrong.
I'd never heard of.
That's the Russian one.
Oh, yeah. Nobody wants to take that one. Jesus.
There's a very
Very
famous
low demand when there's a war going on.
example of ignorance in marketing. Chevy.
The Nova,
yeah. The best-selling car was the Chevy Nova, and they tried to sell it in Mexico, and it didn't sell because, of course, Nova means no go in Spanish. So my guess is Novavax, but
Ken says AstraZeneca.
AstraZeneca was the British one, developed at Oxford. It was very good. And obviously Pfizer and Moderna were cream of the crop. The Novavax one
makes more sense, but is Russia getting any external vaccines, though?
I think that Russia believes the whole thing was a hoax.
That's true. I mean,
superior Russian physiology.
All right, let's do Nova. Oh,
it was AstraZeneca. Damn it, Ken, you were right. When you argue with us more.
I'm sorry, Ken. That's 3 this week. Wow. All right, question number 10. Which athlete was named named the NBA's most valuable player? Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, Steph Curry, or Giannis Antetokounmpo?
LeBron's too old. Stefan's too old.
I gotta say Jokic.
Well, Antetokounmpo was it last year, right?
No, 2 years ago. I think
2 years ago?
Nikola Jokic was last year.
Okay, I'll go with Jokic.
Yeah,
also sounds like the way the Russian would say that he has a painful itch. I have Jokic.
I got Jokic. Tough acting, tenactin', brother. Correct. Hey.
All right. So
I don't even watch the NBA. Like I've heard that dude before.
Dude, did you see that fight he got in the other day? It was pretty awesome. He was shooting a three. Somebody cheap shot at him. He shoved the guy from behind. Jokic is a big, big boy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Look at him. He's a stout dude.
That's against Monobrow, whose name eludes me right now.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about the Bruins series going 7 out of 10 this week?
Phew.
I don't know. I mean, the Bruins have played horribly in every position except for goal.
Oh yeah.
To lose 2 games at home is pathetic. I frankly expect them to lose in 2 days at Florida and be out. I don't see the Bruins coming back.
I really think that the Florida Panthers are. I mean, I will say that they are my favorite team to win at this point. I think they're the most complete team at this point.
Yeah,
Edmonton's probably close second.
I mean, the Rangers are pretty good. I think the Rangers can beat anybody. But yeah, Florida's playing really well. It's
they're a thick team. They're built.
Right. That's the thing, is that most of the teams that can outskill the Bruins can outbully. Not so with Florida.
So what is your thought about the shot on Brad Marchand?
Was it a cheap shot? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Marchand have it coming? Yes, for the last 20 years of his career.
I think that's exactly why he did that. God, which one hit him? Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett hit him, and Sam Bennett's kind of a bastard too, but definitely does not have the karma built up that Mr. Marchand had.
I mean, look, is it a Ty Domi hit? Is it Donald Brashear? No, it's not. It's not even close to any of those things. So you got a little elbow. And did Marchand ham it up a little bit? Yeah, I think he did.
I think he hammed it up and fell into the boards and hurt himself there. And then he threw another hit later in the game that probably contributed to him missing tonight. But
yeah, I don't know.
I've not seen a team as physical as in a long time as Florida.
Yep,
they are. You might want to put some money on them for the cup.
I don't know. I mean, well, they won't. If I don't think when the Bruins lose, if they lose out, they don't continue the Stanley Cup. Then do they? I thought they just played it.
Yes.
So somebody won the Stanley Cup last year?
Yes.
Oh, I was not aware of that. I should keep watching.
You should. I mean, I keep watching. My Sabres haven't been in the playoffs in 13 years, so.
Right.
my season ends in April, so.
I don't know. It's been very disappointing. We'll see what happens. I think I am going to root for the Rangers in the next round if the Bruins lose.
I hate the Rangers.
They haven't won since in quite a while. Messina, right?
Messier, yeah. Messier, the guarantee beating the Devils.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a good time. That was a good team. Red, white, and blue. Go America. So, we'll see. We'll root for it. And fucking no team in Florida, and I mean all of them, should win the Stanley Cup.
I mean, it's gonna. I think Florida's gonna win it as long as the Canadian team doesn't win it. Whoever wins that Vancouver Edmonton series has to
Yeah.
lose in the next round because Operation Leaf Blower is continuing until the Canadian teams are eliminated.
It's interesting. So my brother, who's been on the other show,
Yep.
is he's a huge Stars fan, but he lives in Denver now, and so he's sort of torn about this series. And both those teams are pretty good,
Yeah, they're good.
but I do think the East is just significantly better than the West again this year.
Yeah,
Vegas,
I think
Vegas just
Florida's benefited from the fact that they've been able to get through this round, and they should be able to get through this round quicker. But they did kind of not benefit from the fact that first game against Boston they had been off for almost a week at that point. So
right, they were a little rusty, and then
yeah,
I mean, but for them to take two in Boston is just it's crazy.
yeah,
And the thing is, even right, game 3, which the Bruins lost 4-2, that was the most sound thumping.
yeah.
This one, it was close. There were chances at the end. Boston could have pulled it out,
Sure.
but
so AJ,
Bruins
who do you have winning the Stanley Cup?
Me.
yeah.
There you go. You're gonna go to Target and get that big pink.
AJ, you should start rooting for the Rockies right now. That's your local
funny.
team.
My nephew that's going to be driving the U-Haul across the country. He and his girlfriend already have tickets for the game that Friday night.
There you
We'll be
go.
there.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, go check it out. It's a beautiful stadium. I
No,
love
I'm not going.
those
I'm
stadiums.
going to be unpacking. They're going to go do things.
Yeah. Well,
Y'all
but if
have
you
a
get a
good
chance,
night.
it's an absolutely beautiful stadium. So check it out. It's a great place.
I agree with
But
AJ. It's time to say goodnight.
good night.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate the
Yeah.
comments. We try to get in, and especially I'm really grateful to the audience that stuck with us. A lot of people don't care about what's happening in the LNC chairs race, and you guys stuck through that interview with us. So we're very grateful. Click that like,
Yeah.
smash, and surprise. And I think, Dave, next week or maybe in 2 weeks, we should do an audience appreciation show.
Sure.
Let's do something where we take the whole thing is going to be questions from the audience and let them drive the show, come up with something like that. But we'll only take those questions. Well, I don't know. We'll figure that part out.
We'll figure it out. We'll have fun.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Well, have a good night, everybody.
Yep.
We'll
Say
talk to you
goodnight,
all next
Gracie.
week, except for Dan.
Yep.
Dan won't talk to you later.
I won't be here
He
next
does
week.
not love you.
I don't.
I love you. Just remember that. All right. Have a good one, everybody.
All right.
Night,
Say
Gracie.
goodnight, Gracie. Good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.